Go ahead.
Do you have a degree in economics?
I love that. Oh, Contessa. Now, to her credit, she seems to have actually handled this with a little bit of sense of humor because she went to Twitter and she said, well, I've now learned why lawyers always say never ask a question you don't know the answer to. And boy, is that not true. But here's my question. I finished watching the entire segment, of course, and she never apologized to the men. I mean, here's the thing. At that very moment, it should have been the time for her to stop trying to debate this guy, stop trying to convince him that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. It was at that moment where she should have shown a little bit of humility and perhaps even a little bit of curiosity, which last I checked, that's what journalists are supposed to do. They're actually supposed to ask questions, not engage in this debate, especially when you're so far out of your league. Because here you're debating somebody with an economics degree, an elected official. He's got a double degree, actually, in politics and economics. He's an elected official representing his district in Alabama in Congress. Obviously, the Republican leadership has put him out there to speak on behalf of them in this setting, in what was clearly going to be a hostile setting. Possibly, just possibly, Contessa Brewer, for this moment, should have thought to herself, you know what? I could probably stop trying to argue with this guy since all I've got is talking points supplied by God knows what left-wing website or her producer who got them off of a left-wing website. Perhaps she should have thought, you know what, instead of fighting this guy, maybe I could just ask him questions and let him communicate to my audience. They might learn something. Hell, I might learn something. And at the very least, I will have done part of the job of a journalist, which is actually to shed a little light on an issue that is relatively complicated. And maybe my 12 noon audience on MSNBC might actually, for the first time in their sad, pathetic lives, actually hear a well-reasoned argument from a Republican instead of the way we characterize Republicans. Let me tell you something. When Contessa Brewer brings herself to ask this question...
You're simplifying the issues that were on the plate of the nation at that point. I mean, we were looking at reverting into a depression at that point. Everyone, the Fed chairman...
I disagree that we were going into a depression, but go ahead.
Do you have a degree in economics?
When she asks that question of a Republican congressman from Alabama that she clearly doesn't know much more about other than the fact that he's a Republican congressman from Alabama, she is expecting the response to be, well, no, ma'am, I'm just a pig farmer. But the good folk of Podunk, Alabama have sent me up here to this big old city, Washington, D.C., to do their job for them. They picked me out of the crowd during a Tea Party event. I was the one that didn't have a racist sign, so they thought, you know, I'd be the best one for them. Putting the best foot forward there for Podunk, Alabama. And so now here I am. And by the way, roll tide. That's the answer Contessa Brewer is expecting.
That was your best accent yet.
Thank you very much. I'm proud. I worked on it all day. I had nothing else to do. She was not expecting this answer.
Yes, ma'am, I do. Highest honors.
Okay.
And at that moment, does she, you know, actually show a little humility, show a little shame, and say, okay, you know what? Why don't you continue then, and why don't you tell me exactly what your position is on this? Isn't it possible, Contessa? Isn't it possible that this guy has a little bit more to say about this issue than what you're reading off of that sheet of paper? Does she do that, though? No, this is what she does.
So you disagree with the Fed chairman, Ben Bernanke?
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's obviously, you know, the first easiest low-hanging fruit. But can I just also ask one more question to Contessa Brewer? Have you ever in your entire career ever asked a Democrat that you have on the show what their education is, whether they're qualified to speak on an issue that they're sitting in front of you to talk about? Have you ever challenged them on their degree? Have you ever asked that of anybody with a D after their name? And if not, why not? I have a few ideas. But remember, everybody, this is Contessa Brewer, and she's not part of the opinionated MSNBC lineup. No. She's one of the serious, unbiased, straightforward journalists. Coming up right after this break, we've got a journalism student. Maybe he has an opinion on this. It'd be interesting to find out what they're learning over there at J School, over at SUNY Stony Brook. Excuse me, they call it Stony Brook University now. I can't get that out of my. It's SUNY. It's SUNY. What can I tell you? It's just, you know. Adam Peck will join us in just a few minutes, but let's take a quick break. I'm Larry O'Connor. You're listening to Late Night Conservative Talk Radio. It's the Stage Right Show. Stick around. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah, we study economics all the time down there. You got to study the economics of, you know, how much it costs to shovel manure.
You're losing.
We got to talk about our economics involved in hiring enough, them black folk to work the farm. Right, Contessa? That's how we are down here in Alabama. I'll tell you, this is how much economics I know. I know how to count to 40 for 40 acres and a mule. That's what I know.
Everyone knows it's I knowed.
I knowed?
Come on.
Can you still hear Miss Tracto under me? Because I have no sense of level here.
I can.
All right. I know you can. You're hearing what I'm hearing. It's loud, isn't it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do have an economics degree. Now, we do most of our training hands-on at 7-Eleven. And at the Piggly Wiggly, if we're in the master's program, they set us up at the Piggly Wiggly there, Contessa. What was she expecting? What answer was she expecting? That's what she was expecting. Economics, what is that? I'm not sure what you're talking about, economics. But I will tell you this. I am a Tea Party patriot. And none of this is in the Constitution. That's what she was expecting. Would you love the next time she interviews a Democrat who's talking about the debt ceiling if she would say, do you have an economics degree? The answer from every single one of them, no, I'm a lawyer. No, I'm a lawyer. No, I'm a lawyer. Every single one. No, I'm a lawyer. And a couple of them will say, no, I married a rich lawyer.